Alright, so I wanted to make a screencast showing how you might deal with your data. Um, so, I don't know, I'm just going to kind of organize it a little bit. I'll select everything here and I'll center all my data. These are two examples of the last lab you did. This group here only has 5 data points, and it'll be enough, you'll see. And this group here has only 2 trials instead of 3. And if I select this row here, I can then make my top, I can highlight it, okay? And I have some data for time and position ready to go. And let's see, I think I'm going to have to, I don't know, maybe I'll just average the data. So here I'll choose time, seconds, and I'll say equals, okay, and this is actually this one, right? And this one is actually, oh, I messed up, I'm sorry. Time, seconds, try that again. And then I'm going to have to average. So I'll type in AV for average. Try that again. So I'll type in equals AV. How come it's not giving me some choices? Anyway, it's just average. I can just type it. And I can choose these times to average. And then I can I can close the parentheses there, and it should work. And then I can, that should be good. And now that one and that one I just don't have data for, okay? And this one, these are, I'd like to reduce my significant figures slightly. Let's see. Looks like my computer froze. Oh, not that far. Here. There. That's probably what I want, right there. And then these, I should probably do the same thing. There we go. And so this will say time, whoops, seconds, right? And then I have position here, and that looks like it's in centimeters. And I can just make this bold. I can choose my positions here, and I can probably just copy those down. Yep. So this is ready to graph. And right here, I'm going to press Control, rename. I'm going to call that data. That's my data sheet. Okay. And over here, maybe I'll process this data first before I start graphing. So time, seconds, and I'll say equals, and I'll choose that one. And I can probably just copy those down. There we go. And position, I'll average those 2 trials. This group did position in inches. Okay. And if I double click on the right between cells at the top, it'll resize to fit, which is kind of a nice feature. So if you ever want to make things fit nice, you can just kind of double click right there. And that makes it look pretty good. Okay. So for position, I'm going to say equals av. Looks like I'm going to have to type it in. That's fine. Average. And then I'll pick these 2 positions here. And I'll close it. And then I'll do the rest. Okay. And looking good. This is what I wanted. So I'll make a graph of this one first. Right? Highlight time and position. Time is here. That's the variable I want on my horizontal axis, my x-axis. Position is here. That's the variable I want on my vertical axis. I'll go to Insert Chart. And I'm going to use the new chart editor. So column type is going to be scatter. So I'll scroll down to scatter. I actually like this new editor is pretty cool. So that's data, and then customize titles. Okay. So vertical axis title, I want to say position. And I want the units there. This was centimeters. And horizontal, I want it to say time, seconds, right? Maybe I'll write it out. I'll just write it like this. That'll be fine. And then the whole chart, I want to give it a nice title. So this is called, scientists would call this a position versus time graph. Okay, there we are. And then series, I want a trend line. And I want my trend line to be my label, my equation. That's the equation of that trend line. And under legend, I want it inside. It looks a lot nicer. That's the equation of this line, okay? And I think we're looking pretty good. Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe I'll put a grid line. I'll make this one, let's see what it has on the horizontal. This is fine. This is totally fine. How do I get a vertical line here? Maybe someone will figure that out. So grid lines on the vertical axis. Let's see what this does. I'm just playing right now. I don't want those. Those don't look good. I'll leave it on auto. That looks a lot better. I'm not going to mess around with that. I'll just live with it. Now if I click here, I can move this to its own sheet, right? And it looks like I have a graph of position versus time. And I have an equation right here, which looks pretty good. I like it. So that would be one data set. So I'll say control rename, control click, say graph 1, because I'm going to have a graph 2 soon. Okay? So there's graph 1. I'll delete this one. It's the same thing. I just did it earlier today. So I'll delete that one. I don't need a duplicate of it. And now I'll do the same thing for this data set. Okay? And you get to see what that looks like. So it won't be any different. It's just going to be the same thing. So I'll move it to its own sheet. This is just reviewing the steps one more time. Now I can go here and go edit chart. It'll take me to the same place as before. Chart type, I want it to be a scatter. Now it's a scatter like I want. Now I can customize it. Okay, chart title. I can modify this slightly and it should work. Position versus time graph. Now title, I think, should have every letter capitalized, and I'll write the word versus there. Versus time graph. And then horizontal axis, again, should say time in seconds. Vertical axis should say position in inches. That's my vertical axis. Okay, for series, I want a trend line. I want my equation for my trend line. Under legend, I want it inside my graph. And this looks pretty good. Not bad. There we go. I can get rid of this. And I can label this one control rename. And I'll call this graph 2. Okay, so I have a graph, a beautiful graph with an equation and a trend line for both data sets. I have it all organized into separate sheets. And my formatting is good, so later when I do a lab report, for Mr. Day, for me, when you guys do that for me, you won't really have to modify anything. It's just a matter of organizing your work a little more as a whole. So do a nice job with this and save it to your drive so you can find it. And I hope that helps. I have these 3 samples for the different periods. I'll put these on drive with this screencast so you can look at it and review it so that you know how to make a nice graph and find a trend line and find an equation for that trend line using sheets. Have a good day. Thanks for watching. See you later.